because remembrance ain't nostalgia, it's warfare. And so when you remember, you keep the enemy from rewriting your story. When you remember, you silence the lie that says you made it on your own. When you remember, you give credit where it all belongs, back to the God who brought you out. And so we live in this culture that wants the promise without the process. We want the platform without the pain, the milk and honey without the manna and the humility. But every believer must live with a holy memory. A holy memory. You've got to remind yourself, if it had not been for the Lord who's on my side, because when you forget God, you start worshiping other gods. When you forget grace, you start thinking you're the source. When you forget where you came from, you risk losing where you're going. Moses says, don't forget the Lord who brought you out of Egypt. In other words, don't forget the God who reached down into your mess, into your sin, into your struggle, and snatched you out before you lost your mind. And so you did not walk out of Egypt. You were brought out of Egypt. You were carried by a grace that refused to leave you in Egypt. And that's the love of God. Because some of us need to be reminded that Egypt wasn't just a place, it was a condition, it was an addiction, it was depression, it was shame, it was confusion. That it was the season where you didn't even know who you were anymore, but God brought you out.